Hi guys, so this is my quick Remains poetry revision video. So first we're going to start about what's the poem about. So it's a soldier retelling accounts of an incident where he opens fire on a looter with other soldiers. The poem deals with guilt that manifests within the man and how he deals with it, and how we kind of look at the two coping strategies, and also how the poem can actually be seen as like two poems. And it also deals with the conflict of memory and guilt. So this poem is done in the style of a monologue, meaning it comes directly from the soldier and is from their perspective. The poem has a fast feel and it's got natural speeches. He uses quite a colloquial language such as legs it throughout, and it gives it a kind of casual nature as if he's telling a story. And that is the whole kind of thing, is we're going to look at how he tells a story and how as the guilt kind of goes on, that changes the way that he uses language in it. And there tend to be examples of enjambment between stanzas, and there's no regular rhyming pattern, which once again gives it this kind of idea of speech. So to begin with, on another occasion we got sent out to tackle looters raiding a bank, and one of them legs it up the road, probably armed, possibly not. So to begin with, he refers to the situation as we got, so it's as a collective. Now I'm going to be looking at the idea of how in the poem was kind of like this idea of all kind of going together and sticking together, and how with conformity and numbers of people it relinquishes guilt. So it begins with we got sent out together. The colloquial language legs it, so it instantly tells the reader that he's telling a story, probably armed, possibly not. So we're already getting ideas even in the first stanza of doubt creeping in. Well, myself and somebody else are all of the same mind, so all three of us open fire, three of a kind, letting fly, and I swear. So initially, it's kind of the collectiveness relieves guilt. I was talking about this to other classes when I taught it, and how if everybody is asked to do something, then it doesn't feel as bad. It doesn't feel like you are as in the wrong. It kind of like, people often use it as an excuse as well, like when they're in trouble, like, well, so and so was doing it as well, they were doing it as well. It's kind of a way to relieve guilt, and that's instantly what's happening, especially when you consider the idea that in the previous slide it's myself and someone else and someone else. I see every round as it rips through his life. I see broad daylight on the other side. This is shocking and unsettling as well, so it shows that the audience should be kind of scared almost. It's kind of intimidating, how casual as well, legs it to then seeing kind of grotesque imagery. So we've hit the looter a dozen times, and once again it's got that collective. I believe that's because when it says collective and when it's less about him, he kind of feels more casual about it. And he's there on the ground, taught him inside out. Shockingly casual. It should be something quite upsetting, but he doesn't see it as that initially because of this kind of idea of collective guilt. Or maybe it's the idea of not processing it properly yet. So there's hints towards PTSD experience, so pain itself, the image of agony, and then one of my mates maintains a casual manner. So it's still kind of one of my mates goes by and he tosses his guts back in. It's violent imagery and this juxtaposition between the two. He's saying something disgusting, however, it's all kind of casual. And it's my mates doing it. So once again, it's kind of relieving that guilt. I really do believe that as the poem goes on, you can see it as two ones, because then he begins to reflect like the pronouns I and me. So end of story, except not really. This is when the poem kind of comes in and there's this new element of conflict within. He's suddenly reflecting a lot more on himself. His blood shadow stains on the street and out on patrol, so a chilling reminder of what's happened is kind of staining his memory and can't be kind of taken away. So now we've gone from the kind of pronouns of like collective to individual, because it's his dealing with the thing and it's daunting on his own experience. I walk right over it week after week. Then I'm home on leave, but I blink. Suddenly now it's on him. He's on his own. He's not in this kind of scenario. He's reflecting on it, and this is when the real kind of trauma comes in. And he bursts again through the doors of the bank. Sleep, and he's probably armed and possibly not. So this doubt's creeping in. One of the hardest things about memory is that you kind of begin to doubt yourself. You don't know what's actually happened, like based on personal experiences. So it's hard to justify whether they're in the right. It'd probably be a lot easier if it was like he was armed. It was him or me. I was doing a job. However, the whole thing is like carrying out orders and being told to kill, and how that guilt manifests. and the drink and drugs won't flush him out. Maladaptive techniques can't escape the inner conflict, and shows that he's dealing with clear PTSD. He's trying to flush out a memory, can't flush him out. It's stained, similar to the sidewalk, so you can use those comparison points. Dream, and he's torn by a dozen bullets. I think this could be a metaphor on two parts as well. Kind of torn apart as in the literal of the man being shot a dozen times, but also it's tearing the soldier apart mentally. So there's that kind of mental anguish he can't escape. So he's in my head, and when I close my eyes, it's once again, he's in my head, it's all about him now. Dug in between enemy lines, so it's using military lexi there. But also a metaphor for how he's stuck behind enemy lines, and how the enemy lines is actually within his own head. It's a mental battle right now. Not left for dead in some distant sun-stunned, sand-smothered land. So the use of sibilance here kind of makes it flow, and it kind of gives it that kind of casual nature again, and kind of picks up the pace. Or 6 feet under in desert land, but near to the knuckle here and now, his bloody life in my bloody hands. So he can't escape it. We've got two examples there of how he wants to kind of, the man's body is left over there, but he can't escape it, and he's over here and is kind of on my bloody hands. It shows that it's following him. So that is just my interpretation of the poem. I believe that the whole thing is kind of an extended metaphor for the fact that he can't escape this idea of a collective relieving guilt, and how he's then dealt with the guilt when on his own.